But let's bring in the conversation that we've been waiting for. As we know, it is D-Day for what can be touted as India's biggest tax reform, the much anticipated GST, finally heading for the biggest test in the Rajya Sabha today. Consensus estimates the bill to clear the Rajya Sabha hurdle without any hiccups at all. We'll, of course, see how this day pans out. But joining us to really discuss the impact of the GST passage is Achal Bakeri, that's the CMD at Symphony. Mr. Bakeri, thank you so much for coming in to Lunch Money. I think all of us have really been looking forward to seeing what finally comes out of this day. But if we do look at the passage of the GST, what is the immediate impact that you feel is going to be important for your company?
Well, I think what's going to be most important for our company as well as all companies like us who operate pan-India is the simplification of business processes. Apart from the fact that this might reduce the overall impact of taxes, and apart from the fact that this will sort of boost business overall, I think the biggest gain will be the simplification of doing business pan-India. At the moment, the kind of plethora of taxes and bureaucratic red tape that one has to navigate both at the manufacturing end and at the selling end is really mind-boggling. So this is actually one very big step towards ease of doing business. And there are enough roadblocks, infrastructure, and all kinds of bottlenecks as it is to do business in India. And this is going to be one major sort of impediment removed, and this will really facilitate ease of doing business. I would say that is the biggest advantage that I see from my point of view.
Right. So, Mr. Bakeri, if I could just understand, what's the effective tax rate for you right now, combining all the taxes that are there?
Well, it is in excess of 30% for sure, 32%. So whatever is the GST should be, sort of a reduction in the overall impact on taxation.
Mr. Bakeri, just a question in terms of the fact that this is being touted as the biggest tax reform that we're looking at in independent India. Your company, of course, has been around. It's seen many sort of changes within the business environment. The company itself has gone through many ups and downs. How do you sort of assess the gravity of a GST implementation when it comes to, high impact change in this country in terms of policy and taxation?
I think to a great extent, like I mentioned at the outset, this is going to be, a big change, a big step towards ease of doing business in the country. The second most important, I would say, impact that it will have is on the unorganized sector. This will, I think, facilitate or sort of accelerate the transition from the unorganized sector to the organized sector for a variety of product categories, including ours. I think this will sort of plug many loopholes that exist in the current taxation system, which the unorganized sector thrives on, and so this will help in, I would say, consolidating very fragmented industries, and overall bringing in more transparency, overall bringing in better revenue to the government, and leveling the playing field between the organized sector players like us and the thousands of small unorganized sector players who basically survive because they don't pay taxes.
Absolutely, Mr. Bakeri. And just to take that point forward, there'll obviously be cost benefits coming in as far as logistics and warehousing is also concerned. So just to get your perspective on that, would you be passing on some of these cost benefits to your customers as well? Can we expect a reduction in prices for some of your products going forward?
There would not be a reduction in the end prices, consumer price, because at the moment, first of all, nobody knows, what is going to be the net impact. Now, let's assume that there is going to be some saving, but that may not be passed on to the end customer in terms of the MRP reduction, but there would be more flexibility when it comes to trade discounts, which then indirectly get passed on to the consumers, in one way or the other. So it may actually be either that, or you might actually give more value for the same product that you've been giving so far, So yes, to a short answer to a long question, it will be in the benefit of the consumer for sure.
Mr. Bakeri, much has of course been said about how, first of all, there's the politics of the GST, and then after that, there's actually going to be the implementation, given the fact that we also have to put the systems in place, and there's a large infrastructural push. I may have missed your answer to this a little earlier, but in terms of the actual true benefits of a GST going through, when do you really anticipate that's going to have fruition when it comes to a company such as yours?
Well, I think this is going to, sort of happen over a period of time. It will not happen in one fell swoop. So as they implement GST, as various unorganized sector manufacturers sort of also sort of fall under the ambit of GST, and that has an impact on their pricing, and sort of their overall, I would say, pricing would go higher, and there would be the gap between organized sector players like us and them would narrow. So that is going to be, I would say, it will probably pan out over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And it also depends on how quickly they are able to implement it. There would be IT bottlenecks, there will be infrastructural bottlenecks and issues that may not have been foreseen today, which will have to be resolved. So it all depends on that. But I think this is a multi-year kind of a project. I think this 1st April, if they begin to implement it, will actually be, just the beginning of the implementation process, which will go on for a while. I remember what happened when VAT came in a few years ago. It didn't really, sort of happen overnight. It took a while for it to take root and settle down.
Right. So also, just to understand another point from you, are there any exemptions that you enjoy right now, and possibly some of those may go away, or are there no exemptions for you at the moment?
Whatsoever.
No exemptions whatsoever. So
no.
Definitely a cost benefit coming in. Just a final question, and to put it in, tie it in with the kind of cost benefit that you can expect from the GST, the pay commission boost also coming in, with the kind of market share that you have in the air cooler system. Just leave us with an outlook going forward. How much of a demand boost do you see coming in from both these factors for you for FY17 as well as the years ahead?
Substantial. Both the 7th Pay Commission as well as GST will give a substantial boost, not only in the immediate future, but for the times to come, for sure. GST is not going to help just companies like Symphony, but, like I said, across the whole economy, for sure. And, Symphony certainly will be a big beneficiary of these reforms.
Right, Mr. Bakeri, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining us today and putting in perspective what GST will mean for some of the consumer durable companies. Let's in fact connect with one more of that. TT Jagannath, the chairman at TTK Prestige, joins us on the show. Their Q1 profit up by about 10%. The stock, though, under pressure in trade today.